Far away from a kingdom there was a huge jungle. In that jungle there were thousands of trees. Among them two were very good friends. They stood side by side. The same jungle was the home of many lions. Those lions used to kill other animals living in that jungle and eat them. The carcasses of the dead animals used to stink, and a foul smell would hang in the air. The whole atmosphere was bad to live in. One day, the two trees who were friends were talking. The first tree said, "These lions are polluting our jungle. We have to save our jungle from them. They must be driven out of this jungle." "Yes," agreed the other tree. A wise old tree who was listening to the friend said, "They might be polluting the air, but these wild creatures are keeping us safe from woodcutters. No woodcutter will dare to come into the forest which has lions." But this advice did not go into the minds of the trees. The two friends decided to frighten the animals away. That evening, the two trees started shaking violently. "We will frighten the lions away. They will be so terrified that they will leave this jungle and never come back into this jungle," said the two friends, and laughed aloud. The whole forest echoed with their laughter. "Do not do that," shouted the wise tree. But the two friends did not listen. They began moving in the wind and making eerie noises. All the other wild animals in the forest were scared, seeing the two trees and the sounds they were creating. "There is something happening in the forest. Let us run away," they said. All the animals fled the jungle. The two friends were happy. "Ta! Now we can enjoy some fresh air," they said. But their joy was short-lived. One day a woodcutter came to the forest and started felling the trees. "Now there is no fear of the ferocious lions," he muttered to himself. Soon there were other woodcutters. Seeing this, the wise tree said, "Now all of us will be doomed." The two friends cried out, "How foolish we have been! We should have listened to this wise tree." A little later, the two tree friends were brought down by the woodcutter's axe. The trees and the lions are massed. Day by day, more and more trees were destroyed by many woodcutters. Long, long ago, in a dense forest, there were thousands of tall and beautiful trees. They were happy but proud of themselves. Among them there were also an ugly tree whose branches were badly twisted. Its roots had uneven curves. All the trees made fun of that ugly tree. "How are you, hunchback?" the other trees always shouted, and their laughter made the ugly tree feel sad, but he never raised a voice against them. The ugly tree thought, "I wish I were as beautiful as the other trees. Why did God do this to me? Neither can I provide shade to the travelers, nor can the birds make their nests on me. Nobody needs me." One day a woodcutter came to the forest. He took a look at the trees and said, "These trees are lovely. I must cut them." As soon as he picked up his axe, the trees became frightened. Chop, chop, chop went the woodcutter's axe, and one by one the trees started to fall. "None of us is going to be spared," screamed one of the beautiful trees. Soon that tree too was brought to ground by the woodcutter's axe. By now the woodcutter had come near to the ugly tree. He had just raised his axe when suddenly he noticed how crooked the ugly tree was. This crooked tree seems to be useless for me. I cannot make long straight logs of this ugly tree," he thought. And he moved towards another beautiful tree. The ugly tree heaved a huge sigh of relief. He realized that by making him ugly, God had actually given him a boon. From that day, the ugly tree never complained. He was happy with his crooked branches. He never forgot how he was spared from Teehee Woodcutter's axe, only because he was crooked and ugly.
In a dense forest lived a fierce lion. He was very cruel. One day the lion was caught in a hunter's trap. One by one many animals passed by. "Please help me," pleaded the lion. But none of the animals listened to his plea. After a while, a man happened to come into the forest. He saw the lion. The lion said, "I will die of hunger and suffocation. Please help me out, oh kind man." The man was thoughtful. "I assure you I will never harm you. Please help me now. The hunter will be any time now," said the lion. The man felt sorry for the lion and set the beast free. As soon as the lion was free, he let out a fierce roar. "I have been trapped in the cage for a long time. I am hungry." "I will have to eat you," said the lion, looking at the man. "But you promised that you would not harm me," said the man in a meek tone. "Yes, I said that, but only to convince you to free me." "Now I am terribly hungry," said the lion. The terrified man thought quickly. He said, "All right, you can eat me. But let a judge decide if you are right in eating the person who has rescued you." The lion agreed. He was sure that no animal would speak against him. Just then a jackal came that way, and the lion asked the jackal to be the judge. He addressed the lion, "Sir, would you please show me how it all happened?" The lion was only too willing. He entered the cage and closed the cage door. The jackal immediately bolted the cage from outside. Now the lion is trapped again. "Run away, you foolish man, and never offer help to anyone without thinking," said the jackal. The frightened man ran for his life, and the ungrateful lion was trapped in the cage again. The hunter came and took the lion away to his circus.
Thousands of years ago, there lived a king. His people loved him since he looked after their needs well. At the end of every month, he would invite some noblemen of his kingdom to analyze his work and advise him. The king built many things. Every year he would rebuild his palace, and every time it looked better than before. Marvelous! A mischief. The courtiers would praise, and the king would feel elated. One day the king thought, "This year I will build a perfect palace with all comforts. It should be praised not only within my kingdom, but also by the people of the neighbouring states." The next day, the king worked out a perfect design for his perfect palace. After finalizing it, he handed it over to the builders and masons. In about a month, the perfect palace of the king's dream was ready. The king invited noblemen of his kingdom as well as the neighbouring states to get their opinions about the palace. "Unbelievable! Indeed, it is a perfect palace," jeered the noblemen in unison. But the saint standing in the corner was silent. The king wondered why the saint was silent when everyone was praising his palace. He walked up to the saint and said, "Please tell, O saint, why you are silent. Is not my palace perfect?" The saint replied in a calm voice, "Dear king, your palace is strong and will last forever. It is beautiful, but not perfect, since the people living in it are mortals. They are not permanent. Your palace will live forever, but not the people in it. That is why I am silent. Man is born with empty hands, and so does he die." The king thanked the saint for his wise words and never tried to build a perfect palace again. There was a girl whose family was very wealthy. One day her father took her on a trip to the country where he aimed to show his daughter how poor people live. So they arrived at a farm of a very poor family. They spent several days there. On their return, the father asked his daughter if she liked the trip. "Oh, it was great, Dad," the girl replied. "Did you notice how poor people live?" the father asked. "Yeah, I did," said the girl. The father asked his daughter to tell in more detail about her impressions from their trip. "Well, we have only one dog and they have 4 of them. In our garden there is a pool while they have a river that has no end. We've got expensive lanterns, but they have stars above their heads at night. We have the patio and they have the whole horizon." The daughter replied in delight. She further added, "We have only a small piece of land while they have the endless fields. We buy food, but they grow it. We have a high fence for protection of our property, and they don't need it as their friends protect them." The father was stunned. He could not say a word. Then the girl added, "Thank you, Dad, for letting me see how poor we are." This story shows that true wealth as well as happiness is not measured by material things. Love, friendship, and freedom are far more valuable. In a mango orchard outside a village there lived a mischievous monkey. The whole day he would jump from one tree to another. Thus the monkey kept on eating the ripe mangoes. The orchard keeper tried to trap the monkey, but every time the monkey escaped the trap. One day the monkey wandered out to the nearby town. The town people are so busy. There is so much crowd here, the monkey thought. Soon the monkey was sneaking into houses and running away with eatables. By evening, he had made life difficult for the town people. The town is more fun than the orchard. I will live here, he thought. Days went by and the monkey was looked upon by the town people with terror. Here he comes again, they screamed when they saw the monkey. One day, a juggler came to the town. The people of the town approached him. We want you to help us get rid of that mischievous monkey, they said to the juggler. The juggler said in return, do not worry, get me some jars with narrow necks. When the jars of the size were brought to him, he put peanuts into the jars and placed them out on a field. The monkey became curious when he saw the jars. When he went and peeped inside the jars, he saw peanuts. Yummy! Let me quickly grab the peanuts and run, he thought. He put his hand inside the jar and grabbed a big handful. But he could not pull out his clenched fist as the neck of the jar was so narrow. If the monkey dropped some peanuts back into the jar, he could have pulled his hand out. But he was greedy, so he did not drop some peanuts into the jar. The town people trapped the monkey with his hand inside the jar. They got hold of the rope and tied him in a post. Then the monkey was sold to a zoo. That was the end of the greedy monkey. The kingdom of Vijayagar had a wise and kind king. People were happy, but the king himself was sad and worried. A devilish snake had entered his son's body. Neither medicine nor magic worked to cure his son. When the prince grew up, he thought, it is because of me that my father worried. And one day he left the palace. Wandering, he came to another kingdom. He found a desolate temple and started living there. He begged for food. The king of that kingdom was cruel, but he had a kind and beautiful daughter. The king was unhappy with his daughter. That girl was always ridiculing her father's hard work. The king thought, she is always talking to me low of my hard work. I must marry her to a beggar. Then she will know what hard work is. So, when the beggar prince came to beg for food in the palace, the cruel king forced him to marry his daughter. The prince and his new bride started for the desolate temple. On their way, they stopped to take rest. The princess went around in search of food, while her husband went to sleep. When the princess came back, she was shocked to see a snake sitting on her husband's mouth. On a mount nearby sat another snake. They were talking among themselves. Why do not you leave the body of the prince? He is so kind and gentle, said the snake sitting on the mound. You two are evil, you attack passers-by. You should not be telling me what to do, replied the snake sitting on the mouth of the prince. The princess killed both the snakes with all her courage. When her husband woke up, she told him about the two snakes. The prince was happy. Then he told her who he really was. They set off to the prince's palace. The king was delighted to see his son. When the king learned that the devilish snake was killed, his joy knew no bounds. The prince and the princess lived happily for a long time. After a few years, the kingdom celebrated the day on which the royal couple gave birth to twins of one boy and one girl. King Vikramaditya was known for his justice and kindness. Even gods sought his help in settling issues. In his kingdom, no one was unhappy. His people loved him and were proud of him. Once the Vikramaditya decided to build a palace on the riverbank. He ordered his ministers to survey the site and start the work. The labourers were put to work, and in a few days the palace was ready. Before bringing the king to show the palace, the minister decided to take a final look. Splendid, the minister exclaimed, looking at the palace. Then suddenly his eyes fell on something and he shouted, "What is that? I did not see that before." All the labourers and the soldiers turned around. There was a hut just a few steps away from the palace gate. "What is this hut doing here?" shouted the minister, and added, "And whom does it belong to?" "Sir, it belongs to an old woman." She has been living here for a long time, replied a soldier. The minister walked up to the hut and spoke to the old lady. I want to buy your hut. Ask for anything, he said. I am sorry, sir. I cannot accept your offer. My hut is dearer to me than my life. I have lived in it with my late husband, and I want to die in it, the old lady said. The minister tried to tell her that her hut would spoil the charm of the newly constructed palace. But the old lady was strong in her stance, and she was ready to face any consequences and any punishment. She refused to sell her hut to the king. The matter was then taken to the king. The wise and generous king thought for a while, and then said, Let the old lady have her hut where it is. It will only add to the beauty of the new palace. Then turning to the minister, the king said, Let us not forget that what seems ugly to us may be precious to someone else. The people then realized why their king was so highly respected by all the people and by all other neighboring kingdoms. Once upon a time, there was a very big forest. There on a huge banyan tree lived many crows. They were selfish and arrogant. They always quarreled with other birds. This behavior irritated other birds. They had no friends, as no one liked them. When the rainy season came, dark clouds gathered in the sky. A small myna was returning to her nest. When she was passing by the banyan tree, it started raining. I will stay here for a while until it stops raining, thought the little myna. And I took rest on the banyan tree for a while. The selfish crows saw her perching on the tree. One of them shouted, Get off the tree. This tree belongs to us. The myna humbly pleaded, The weather is bad and my nest is far off from this forest. Please let me take a rest for a while on this tree, brother. As soon as it stops raining, I will return to my nest. Leave this banyan tree at once, or we will pick you, said the other crows. The merciless tendency of the selfish crow scared the myna. The myna found no other way except to fly off. Then immediately the myna flew off to a nearby tree, where luckily she found a hollow and a broken branch. She took her shelter there. Shortly after, the rain became heavy, followed by thunderstorm. The wind was in high speed. Even the leaves and branches were not enough to give shelter to the crows. Many of the branches of many trees in which the crows had taken shelter were damaged and hurt by the hailstones, but the myna was safe inside the hollow place in the tree. One of the crows said, Look at the myna. How comfortable she is. Let us go there. Another crow said, I do not think she will let us share the hollow. We did not have sympathy for her when she was in need of this tree. Then another crow said, We should not have been so rude. We forgot that we may need help someday. Suddenly the myna called out, Come, my friends, come to this hollow, or you will get hurt. The rain is not going to stop soon. It seems that it may rain for a long time. The crows flew down to the hollow. They thanked the myna. We are sorry for having unkind, dear friend. Now we will never be so selfish. Then the crows took shelter in the hollow place of the tree in which the myna had taken her shelter. After some time, it stopped raining. All the birds flew to their respective nests happily as new friends. It was a dense forest. Trees were found in all kinds. There were big trees and small trees, thick trees and thin trees, and tall trees and short trees. There was this one tree which was a crooked one. The trunk was bent in all directions. It was a bit funny to look at. The crooked tree turned around and had a look at all other trees. They were all very upright. They were standing straight. See how ugly I am. I am good for nothing. All these fellow trees are straight and beautiful. I am not even one bit amicable. It lamented. There came a heavy thunderstorm. It started raining heavily. Strong winds started blowing. The wind gushed through the forest and water flushed away everything that lay on the ground. The soil all over was eroded. Trees fell one by one. First the thin ones fell, then small ones. Not only that, while the huge ones fell, they cut off the nearby trees also. So there were trees lying all over the place. All this time Crooked Tree shut its eyes and braced firmly, biting its roots firm in the ground. Slowly the storm subdued and there was silence. The Crooked Tree opened its eyes and alas, the whole place was a graveyard. All the beautiful trees were dead now. This Crooked Tree was one among the few survivors. Now this Crooked Tree understood the meaning of real strength.